How realistic is the Dogs having a Heisman winner? All right, we just saw them get as close to that as they had been in 20 years since 1992 when Garrison Hurst was. Stetson Bennett being a Heisman finalist this past season. And it's turned into it's a quarterback award essentially. Rarely does a quarterback not win the award. It takes either a down year for quarterback statistics or just an extreme case where that player they were unequivocally the most phenomenal player. And the last two non-quarterbacks were actually both from Alabama, and I'm going to get into their numbers and stuff like that. But Stetson Bennett, his season statistically was not that crazy, right? And he came in fourth in voting. Some people thought, what's he? He's not doing he deserved to get there. He definitely didn't deserve to win it. Now he did have the most spectacular postseason out of those guys, and one of the most spectacular postseasons ever. Certainly in the college football playoff era, that's got to be one of the three best performances as far as a two-game performance. But that's not what the Heisman Award is. It's really kind of taken into account over the first 13 games if you include conference championships. So Bennett, added all together, ended up with over 4,000 yards and 27 touchdowns and 7 picks. Right? Those are really good numbers, but they're not really Heisman numbers. Can Carson Beck do that? Does Brock Bowers go berserk? Do they give the ball to one running back a lot? That, to me, is really unlikely just because even when they've had really superstar guys, they didn't get the ball enough to get the numbers to be a Heisman Trophy winner. So I think it's a little unrealistic just because I don't think the way that Georgia plays is it's just not predicated on that. It's not predicated on one guy. It has been a team effort. Now that Georgia has become what they've become and, a potential dynasty is brewing and they've just won 2 championships in a particular way where they really spread the love on both sides of the ball. It's not just one guy. In the past, it was wow, Gurley is such a huge part of their offense. Wow, Chubb and Michelle is such a big part. It's not really like that anymore, and it's not that they don't have guys that talented. They do. Brock Bowers is definitely that. He is the best player on their team now. Now that Jalen Carter's gone, I can unequivocally say that Brock Bowers is the best player on Georgia's team. He's a top 5 player in the country, possibly top 3 or top 2 or top 1. You make that choice. But, with the Heisman, it is such a numbers game. It's definitely a quarterback thing for the most part. Yes, there are other players that get there, but I can go through some of these numbers for Joe Burrow's Heisman season statistically was ridiculous. I mean, what was Bryce Young's Heisman season wasn't just absolutely ridiculous. So what did Bryce Young get? Bryce Young Heisman stats. It's only one I had 4,300 yards, but his touchdown interception ratio was crazy. That was what it was. Well, he finished with 4,800 yards, 47 touchdowns, and 7 picks. So, yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. He had 20 more touchdowns than Stetson, the same amount of picks, 700 more yards than Stetson. Yeah, so, Bryce Young, he was the clear Heisman winner, right? Caleb Williams had great numbers. It's the touchdowns that matter. The touchdowns. Stetson didn't have that. Ryan Curley from Dog Post here talking about, what does it take for Georgia to get a Heisman winner? This guy didn't do it, but he got really close. Make sure you're checking out Double Dogs. Link is down below. These are coming really soon. We're getting close. It takes a while to get these things together and to get it done the right way. So it's coming soon. It's coming soon. Red Zone, DoorDash, all those kind of links are important down below. But most importantly, Double Dogs. We're getting close. We're gonna have this by the end of February. All right, we're real close. We're entering the end of February. So if it's Carson, which I've got him pulled up there, the timing is always great. I got him pulled up there, and I think he's going to be the starting quarterback. Is the offense going to pave way for him to throw for almost 5,000 yards and almost 50 touchdowns? Maybe. Right? I mean, I think Georgia runs the ball less this year. Look, man. I don't know how much Bobo changes things. They saw what works the last 2 years. Okay? Georgia's offense, was that the best Georgia offense ever? Might be. Last year in 21. Or 22. The 15-0 team, right? That's the best offense Georgia's ever had, right? Stetson had 4,100 yards. They had 557 carries throughout the year. It's a lot of carries. Stetson threw it over 450 times. Do they throw it more with Carson? I think they could. And is it Bowers that gets do they just feed Bowers and that's how he gets the Heisman? Here's the thing about Bowers. You pull his numbers up. Rushing wise, he had over 100 rushing yards. It's going to be more than that. All right, I think if Brock Bowers won the Heisman, he needs a couple more rushing touchdowns, probably closer to 3 to 4. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to get the ball that much off the ground. 63 catches for 942 yards, 7 touchdowns, right? He had more touchdowns receiving the prior season. Devontae Smith, this is in 12 games, 13 games. This is in 13 games because it was a COVID year. Devontae Smith had 117 catches, 1,800 yards, almost the dryer. I'll wait. Wow, that was long. Almost 1,800 yards, or over 1,800 yards, 23 touchdowns. 23 touchdowns. It's just not, he's just not going to get those numbers. Bowers had 7 receiving, 20. It's the touchdowns, right? The yards matter too, but the touchdowns. You score a lot, you're going to get noticed for these things. Caleb Williams scores a lot. Bryce Young threw almost 50 touchdowns. Joe Burrow did throw 50 touchdowns. I think Cam Newton had 50 total touchdowns or something crazy like that. Maybe it was 40. It's just one of those things where I don't know if Georgia's offense will play like that. I don't think Bowers will get the ball enough. In Bowers in 15 games had 63 catches, and he's the best tight end in college football. Bowers in 13 games, Devontae Smith had almost double. He was a few off of having double the receptions as Brock Bowers. They would have to feed that man. Will they? I just don't think so. There's too many weapons on Georgia's offense. It's not this air raid. The dryer's really pissing me off. It's not this air raid thing. I doubt Kendall Milton, if he is the RB1, which he may not be. It could be Dejan Edwards. It was definitely Kenny McIntosh last year, but he only had 10 more attempts than Dejan Edwards, right? It was the receiving that made him RB1. But I doubt it's the run game that gets Georgia a Heisman. Carson Beck would have to really air it out if it's him. If it's Vandegrift or Gunner, which I doubt, they can do things a little bit more on the ground than he can. But I don't think Georgia gets a Heisman. I don't know when that would happen. If Stetson had a phenomenal year and he was close, it would take more passing touchdowns. And it would take wins. The wins matter. If it's an undefeated team or a playoff team, that definitely holds a slight bit of weight. It didn't hold that much weight for Lamar Jackson, but he was clearly the most spectacular guy. It was, RG3, he was the most spectacular guy. But, if it's a running back, no, they're not going to... Derrick Henry had 395... Are you serious? Derrick Henry had 395 attempts in 2015? Is that real? Oh my God. Georgia's not going to give Kendall Milton that many attempts. Georgia's not going to give Dejan Edwards that many attempts. Georgia's not going to give Branson Robinson that many attempts. That number shocked me. I'm ending it on that note. Derrick Henry had 395 attempts in 2015 when he won the Heisman. Thanks for watching.